Welcome to the What Now podcast. I'm Daryl Elliott, along here with our family, Manika Ojo, Archbishop Daryl Chase, and Reggie McClurkin. And we are going to discuss all of the topics that matter to the community, to our world, everything ranging from politics, economics, community, and entertainment and culture. Thank you for joining us. Hey, everybody. How you guys doing today?
Hey everyone. Hey.
Thank you. How are you?
So good to see everyone again.
Yes.
Good,
Hello.
good.
Great to see everybody.
Bless everybody.
Yes. We've had a very eventful week, and we want to kind of bring it up today because it's always so much to talk about, and it's always so much to think about what we're going to talk about because you just can't put it all in one session. The funny thing about living in a Donald Trump presidency is that your news zone is so flooded, and it's a 24/7 never-ending cycle. So it kind of pushes us to always have to have some kind of discussion because we have to inform people about the things that are going on. They bank on the fact that a lot of people do not know. They don't know how things work. They don't understand how our government works. They don't understand what its far-reaching effects are on the community and on the people. So we're here as the people that we are that occupy the spaces that we occupy. We're here to bring a little bit more light, a little bit more understanding, and a little bit of direction so we can decide what now? What are we going to do? How do we respond? And that we don't get caught slipping or sleeping in this type of environment. So thank you guys. Glad to see you. We're gonna jump right into it. So this week in the Trump presidency 2.0, we are faced with a crazy week. So I'm going to kind of compress two topics into one so that we can have enough time. But we saw two eventful things take place. One, of course, top of mind of everyone is the economy. we saw him announce basically across the board tariffs, except for Russia. Keep a pin in that one. We saw across the board tariffs that shook global markets, and some people have lost a lot of money in their retirement because of that. So your 401k took a hit. And now what's concerning is that what's going on in Wall Street will find its way to regular society. So the market dropped basically off. Let me put it in the perspective. Joe Biden left office with a stock market at 45,000. The stock market under Trump has gone down to 38,000. No president has had such a precipitous decline in the first few weeks of his presidency, and his approval rating after two months now in office basically has gone to a net negative of a negative 12 points. Just to give you context, when Jimmy Carter inherited a disastrous economy and it took a hit upon his presidency, he was the prior leader. He went down to -2 in 11 months. So Trump has lapped Jimmy Carter over and over again on the net negative rating 6 times versus Jimmy Carter in what is basically 9 months less time to do so, because it takes a lot for a president to drop drastically in what we call the honeymoon period, which he's supposed to be in right now. But the honeymoon is over, and the people are now dealing with reality. So based upon that, I think we should let's go ahead and talk about the tariffs. I was going to talk about the other thing, which is that the Venezuelan deportations have now come down to some rulings. For those who don't understand what I mean by Venezuelan deportations, is that the Trump administration decided to just pull people off the street. They didn't like their tattoos. Okay, they didn't like their tattoos. They're from Venezuela. They speak Spanish. They gotta go. That's basically how they adjudicated their deportations. Um, so these people have been put into prison to a place where they have asylum from, of which the terms of their asylum says that they cannot be deported back to the place he deported them back to. Exactly. So these are asylum seekers fleeing political persecution and criminal activity, and the Supreme Court is handling it to some degree now. Prior to that, a lower court ruled that he has to turn things around. He has to bring the people back. And it was surrounding a specific person, but it covers others. And the Trump administration divided. And the argument is that everyone under the Constitution is afforded due process, regardless of their status. And it means you must go through the system and let the justice system be able to make a determination before you can just arbitrarily do such things to individuals. So we can get to that topic next, but let's jump back on to the issue of this week's economy and all of what came with it. So, guys, what do you think? We had the big tariff terror shock around the world. The Chinese are responding now with reciprocal tariffs. So basically, whatever you can do, I can do better is going on. We're now in a tariff war, a trade war, and all that means to the people, what people don't understand about tariffs is that countries don't pay tariffs. Ultimately, the people, the consumer, pays for the tariffs. I'm a manufacturer, so whenever I get what's called duty, I'm charged duty for what I make overseas, any hard goods I make overseas.
Exactly.
I'm going to raise my prices to recover what I paid. And that's going to go towards the customer. So what do you think, y'all? I'm interested in hearing your perspective. I can lend mine a little afterwards, but what do you feel about this wild and wacky week of finance?
Kick us off, man.
Yep, Manika. You're the policy person.
I'm going to start out because I think that America has gotten a lesson on tariffs in a way that they have never understood before. And understanding, because there's always been some type of tariff or some type of tax that's been affiliated with products that are imported into this country. But we really need to break it down in a way that regular and normal people understand. And so all someone has to do is just look in their general surroundings, look at their iPhone, even the case that this iPhone is made in. Where was it made? Was it made in China? Was it made in Japan? Where was this phone at? The very lens for this phone may have possibly been made in India, or it could have been in some of those areas. And so they're already saying that a regular iPhone's running roughly around $1,000, and it may become, for you to replace your phone, about 18 to 19, because the tariffs have been placed on all of the items that are coming into this country, and most of them are coming from India, China, and even Vietnam. About 80%, and I'm giving this quote because I just looked it up. About 80% of our clothing, which we can get relatively cheap in this country, is being sewn and manufactured in Vietnam. And they have one of the highest tariffs. So I was very surprised to hear that clothing manufacturers are now going to be impacted by this as well. And those are American designers, Italian designers. They're sewing. The people that are actually doing the sewing of these items are doing it in these foreign countries because you have a high labor force that could sustain the amount of demand that we have in this country for the items that we want. But in the end, everything is going to impact us. And I believe that in this economy here, that the market is going to react in a way. And when I say the market, I mean the big business owners. They're going to react in a way to prepare for this in a way, in a sense, very similar to what they did during the pandemic, and that's to increase prices.
Oh yeah.
So, with an understanding or, with the potential that possibly we will be actually decreasing the purchases that we have, and they're going to want to make up for that. So, so that is where I believe we are in terror. So I think it's really important to make sure that people understand why this discussion is so important, and then really to attach this to some international policy that I cannot decipher why we would go into into a situation as a country under Trump to instill these tariffs on all of these items coming from all of these countries. And then he comes back to say, well, I know how to negotiate and we're going to do the hardball negotiating. But at what cost? This is not his business. And mind you, he has filed bankruptcy 6 times,
Exactly.
failing 3 casinos, which I don't believe they were failed. I believe they were just, money was just taken from them.
Exactly.
But that's my take on it.
Mm-hmm. Well, Malika, you're right on it. You're right, spot on it. I mean, because at the end of the day, I'm just totally baffled and I'm just totally blown away by the fact that we're basically, as a country, as a nation, caught up in the twilight zone, living in the outer limits right now. Those old TV shows we used to watch, and I'm just every day I get up now after I do my meditations and all, I'm just wondering, will this be the day that the Congress regains their rightful place, in the, three branches of our government? I mean, more sooner than later, it's my hope and prayer that we will get people who will just do the jobs that they were elected to do. Because at the end of the day, we don't have a king, we don't have an emperor, we don't have one person who can decide everything for our country. Even though, right now we can clearly see, especially within the Republican parties, I don't call them Republicans, I call them Republicans Party. They have just abdicated their authority all to acquiesce and go along with anything that their king wants. But at the end of the day, we the people, I have to believe, especially be people of color, we've been down this road before, not to this extent, not in this reality, but suffering and going without and all of that. We've been down this path before. The only thing I'm just utterly disgusted by, because I've lost quite a bit of money in the stock market. I've lost quite a bit in the 401k, my wife and I. And like I said, we are doing what so many other people are now doing. I can't complain about it. We're just trying to shore up the trenches so that we can maintain our financial stability. But at the end of the day, it's going to take we the people. I mean, all over the country, you all saw people turning out, with protests and their civil disobedience. But that makes me somewhat upset, angry, and disappointed because everybody, all the people who voted for this lunatic thought it wasn't going to impact them. Every day you're seeing so many more people thinking it wasn't going to impact them. Now, these are the people expecting we as African Americans and the blacks to support them and all that. And even, Kamala Harris came out and she made a statement this week. Even Obama, I don't know if you saw his little clip, and he hit the nail on the head. Can you imagine if he had done any of this in any degree? But with the tariffs and things like that, like Monica said, everything. I mean, it's just, I vividly remember, like I said, going around the corner to the Giant, and you spent $100 even as recently as 5 years ago before the pandemic, and you could come out with maybe two, maybe even three bags of groceries. You could come out with one little plastic bag now, and it's over $100, and you may not have, 6, 7, 8 items in that bag. And so with the tariffs, we're the ones, like I said, Daryl, you have it correct as well. And for him to come out and say that he knows what he's doing, and he says he knows what the hell he's doing. And Monica, you're so right. Here's a man, I just can't wrap my brains around it. I can't wrap my mind around the fact that our country, and I travel abroad all the time, at least every 6 weeks I'm going somewhere. And the fact that people really voted for someone who's been bankrupt 6 times, was on the verge of a 7th bankruptcy, and the government, basically took over that. And then somebody who has no business acumen, his whole history, everything he's touched has failed. And these people thought this was going to be the person who can upright our economy. Now, keep in mind what you just said, Daryl. Our economy was stable when Bush left office at 11:59 on January 20th. Our economy was flourishing.
Yeah,
and
Biden.
within we're in weeks, within weeks now of going into a full-blown recession again. And instead of people trying to right the ship, we're just sitting back, all holding on as the ship just completely just capsized. But I have to believe that, I'm seeing each day there are more Republicans who are joining with the Democrats and saying that we have to do something. Because it's just gone too far. But, at the end of the day, me, like everyone else, in the interim, we're paying so much more than just before we came on air. The reason I was running a little bit behind, I was on the phone arguing with somebody. I had to get somebody off the phone who are all the way over on the West Coast because they keep coming up with this. They just saw something on the news, they claim, that says Trump is going to initiate martial law. And I'm like, why do you all keep buying into this foolishness? So, like I said, don't want to keep rambling. I want the bishop to get in on this. But I mean, something has to be done. Or like I said, y'all will be reading about me on the news because if I keep losing money like I'm losing, I'm definitely gonna take matters in my hand.
The martial law thing is not it's not the first time I've heard it this week.
Right.
And it's definitely something that bears watching. And he does have the capacity to do that. And so, with martial law, that means he can control all the banks. He can stop all your, the withdrawals from banks. He can close down stores. He can close down governments, and just take full control. And I really, honestly, don't put it past this man and those that follow him because they want someone to follow into the abyss as they, do what they want to do to this economy. But I heard James Carville say just recently that this man does not like America. He doesn't like the fact that people have access to potential wealth or potential opportunities. And he has an axe to grind.
Right.
Yes, he seriously has an axe to grind.
Right. Not just the axe to grind, but see, what people are forgetting, everything about Donald J. Trump is a grift. I was also shocked, yesterday when somebody reached out to me and said, the latest is, and I was looking at Rachel Maddow and things like that. Now the thing is, he actually believes he can sell federal buildings and profit. He takes the profit. He actually thinks they can sell the FBI headquarters, the J. Edgar Hoover building. They've already designated some buildings. They want to sell them, privatize them, and he receives the benefits of the privatization for whoever wants to buy these buildings. And if this is not going to make these people wake up and say, look, enough is enough, I mean, he might want to initiate some martial law, but I'm telling you what's going to happen. The people not only going to take to the streets, but it's going to be a lot of bloodshed. And it's going to be bloodshed of these public officials who are not doing their jobs, They've already stopped doing a lot of the town halls because they want to keep to this Republican narrative and things like that, that he's the one, just it's only one wing of government now. We don't have judicial, executive, legislative no more. He's everything now. And like I said, I was really surprised, alluding to the tariffs and tying it all together. Even John Roberts, Supreme Court, the justice, I mean, he came out and let him extend the thing about the debt. Because remember, the judge had given him until 11:59, to bring the young man from Maryland back. And so, like, now they're giving him more time. Thank God for the other federal judges who are saying no. They're the ones at least doing their job to facilitate, bringing an end to this madness. But until something is going to have to be done because we're on the verge of imploding. Because, like I said, and then look at the way we're treating those who've been our allies for many, many years. So all this stuff is about ready to blow up. But we keep forgetting, his whole sole purpose is to totally blow up this whole country as far as the democracy and as far as, like I said, our Constitution. And if we don't get some people to stand up to him, it's going to take we the people just rebelling, and it's going to be internal civil war against the establishment. Like, who was that? Gil Scott Heron says, it will be televised. It's definitely going to be televised.
Well, it's going to be televised this time. It's going to be on your iPhone too. So it's going to be everywhere.
So
Bishop.
As I was listening to everybody, I want to take us back to approximately this time last year, when the current president said if he does not get reelected and do what he wants to do, there will be blood in the streets.
Yes.
That's number one. Number two is the deal with these tariffs is I think it's a plan that has not been well thought out. America has ceased being producers. The Northeast, New York, New Jersey, Connecticut, even Pennsylvania, they were known for textiles.
Right.
The textile industry has moved almost completely
overseas
to India. Manufacturing jobs, the factories are closed down. There are very few skilled laborers because we wanted to make a push towards technology. And even when, and those of you who are, in our age bracket will remember that there used to be a commercial that used to tell us to buy American.
Buy American.
And even when we bought American, the prices were higher.
Yes.
Than the counterparts. Now, here's the thing. If you're going to impose a tariff and you have nothing in your regime that counteracts or that can replace what you're going to tariff from them, then that is a stupid plan. And so what we're faced with is higher prices on everyday items, necessities. Even with food, which is supposed to be, I believe, non-taxable across the board. The majority of what we get as food, produce, is coming from outside of the country.
Yes.
So we have to really look, and we have to see what the underlying plan is. The underlying plan is to derail, like we've been saying, to derail democracy, to put to cancel out the United States government's constitution,
Yes.
and to put those who are not in that upper 1 to 5%
Yeah.
in total disarray, so that it can revert back to servitude with minimal compensation.
Minimal. That's it.
This is why you've had a struggle even with minimum wage being increased. I know people at McDonald's now that are making $20 an hour. Okay, but bravo. But there's a struggle with these things. So if we are going to do something as a people, we first have to start producing. Okay, and our production has to benefit our community. Okay, and so since we're on this soil, and there's going to be no quote unquote tariff for us, we need to start, as we've been saying, our past episodes, we need to build our own businesses and learn how to support each other. Until then, we're in the barrel with the rest of the country, facing a nightmare that is going to utterly bottom out. And when the bottom falls out, there will be repercussions and consequences. And I don't think we're ready to deal with those repercussions and consequences. What does this mean? Well, it means that we're going to have issues with feeding our family. We're going to have issues with housing, which is already an issue. We're gonna lose housing, mortgages, because we cannot pay, and then all these things are tied into his whole scheme, which is why he's canceling out employment of several people. This DEI thing, is now firing people because they don't fit and they don't have to. So when are we going to wake up?
Thank you.
And when are we going to take control? See, we have to. I don't care whether they're Democrat or Republican. We have to tell the congressmen, the Senate, to stop the nonsense and do what we tell you to do.
Exactly.
Because all this special interest stuff is killing people. And I'm going to leave it at that.
And the lie and deception is that the argument is, the tariffs is going to force American manufacturing. Well, do you know how long it takes to scale up manufacturing in any place? It would take at least 6 years to put up factories in certain types of businesses and certain areas. So that's the first thing. The first thing is that we will say that again, Bishop.
You are already 40 years behind, because 40 years ago is when manufacturing totally left the United States and went overseas. That was about 40 years ago.
Right. Exactly. And on top of that, because you are 40 years behind, you can't scale up fast enough. And if once you do put it in place, you're going to have AI and robotics. So there will not be jobs to be had because it's going to be a scaled down workforce.
Yeah.
Because you're going to need less people to operate these modern facilities. You're only going to need basic operators to kind of keep the trains moving on time, and you're going to need programmers, which a lot of things are going to be self-correcting in programming. AI is going to take over a lot of programming. And then you're going to have those who are the maintenance people. So it's going to be way more scaled down than they think. I predict that you're going to slash the workforce at least 50%. I said 30 to 50 to begin with, but once we perfect robotics and once we perfect AI, you can basically have a workforce at 30 to 40% of what it is now.
Exactly.
And the other nonsense we heard from one of the economics advisors of the president, he said, "Oh, all the people who put all the little bitty screws in there, there's going to be plenty of jobs for people." First of all, you just insulted a whole nation. That was the equivalent of let them eat cake, and and then China, in response to that, actually trolled us. And maybe I'll bring it out.
Oh yeah, I saw that.
China sent out a troll of all the Americans sitting in a sweatshop putting the little screws in the items, and that is letting us know to our face how ridiculous this whole thing is. Basically saying, you guys, one, are not going to do what we do. And two, you don't realize that China is already scaling up and changing how they do manufacturing to what I said. And because their economy works fundamentally different than ours, they don't. If people lose jobs, they already have a governmental system, an economic system that's different. And I'm not advocating that it's better, because it's not. But it's highly oppressive, so I'm not advocating for that. So what I'm saying though is that everything in the messaging is a lie. Everything in what they're saying to you is a lie. And because people are not thinking this through, and I am exhausted arguing the point with people in MAGA, thinking that daddy has got this and he's going to negotiate us to utopia, that there could be nothing further from the truth. And we are, just like everything was supposed to be fixed on day one, here we are at day 60. And we have gone so much in the reverse. It's going to take quite a bit of time to fix what has been done in 60 days, let alone what's going to happen over 4 years. And the question becomes, to what you were saying, Reggie, about the people. I think that there's too much of a shock to the system, and we just had a soft protest take place, which was massive. And I call that a soft protest. I don't think that the country is in a place that they can handle such a shock to the system in such a short amount of time. You're going to see something that the nation is not ready for. That's just my guess. That's just my feeling and my guess. Because it's just not what America has been, in all of its flaws, which we can all acknowledge. It's not been what we're going towards, and I think it's going to be really, really, really tough to see. If you guys don't mind, I'm going to slide in a break right here, and we're going to come back on the other side. Before I do that, though, anything on anybody's mind concerning that, concerning the issue of tariffs?
Yeah, Daryl, let me just say this real quick, alluding to what you just said. No, we're not ready for it, but I'm telling you, it's coming. I mean, the way, see, when you back a man into a corner, and the thing that really, like I said, I try to joke about it in the sense of seeing those people who were his supporters on November the 5th now realizing how they basically have destroyed their own way of life. They've destroyed their own way of life. So when those people are backed into a corner, because they're not like us, they have no sense of resilience. They've not had 400 years of preparation to deal with things, like this. These are going to be the people who are going to, like I said, and Daryl, and Earl on one thing. It's not just 60 days. We're up at the 80th day. This is the third, in another 10 days, it will be, like I said, 90 days in and things like that. So I just like, we better hold on because, like I said, we can sit back and now see the Johnny come latelys, how they're going to respond. But I'm telling you, I've talked to some people, who are associates. I don't call them friends. Some of my white associates, and their families are up in arms. They're ready to, like I said, basically lay down their life because they don't have no other option. They have been riding this, sea of privilege for so long, and now that the rug has been pulled out from under them, they're really ready to, go, like I said, all in and fight to the death, so to speak. And they're gonna be going after, like I said, these people who they put into these positions to, like I said, just grip them and take them down this abyss of total annihilation and destruction of that way of life.
The question is, though, before you go, but I just want to tone in that the question is, what are they fighting for at this point?
Right.
Because, so it's like, what do you,
that's a good question.
And I ask that because oftentimes those that voted in the favor, and this is not even a Democratic and Republican thing at this point. This is really a consciousness thing. If you're voting for someone that is supporting excluding people out of a society, then that's a level of consciousness that you have to deal with, that you're going to have to work it out with your creator and really come to grips with, because we also know that those very same people are using those same tactics in the workplace. They're using them in local government, who they're putting in office in local government, and so on and so forth. We've just seen it more federalized. And so, how do you rid of the hate, and what are you really fighting for at this point? So that would be the question I would ask any of the people that supported a Trump presidency and then are a little resistant to some of his policies that he is putting into place or allegedly trying to put into place. He hasn't really put a lot of things into place. A lot of it's been talk. A lot of it's been pushed back on. I just recognize that too. What are we fighting for? This country has to come to a realization that, we need to change.
That's absolutely the case, and that's the question that we do need to ask. Everybody, we're going to go to break, and we're going to come back on the other side.
Okay. Introducing our Small Business Make More Save More package from Payments Factory. Increase your business revenue by offering your customers more options of when and how to pay. Surveys show that 35% of small business customers are interested in paying by text to their phone. That number almost doubles to 62% of people under the age of 35 who prefer to pay by text message. Our Make More Save More package allows you to send payment requests to your customers via text message and email, all while eliminating complex credit card processing fees with this simplified program. In addition, you have access to next-day funding, real-time reporting of all transactions and payments, and 24/7 access to your online merchant portal and statements. Our free terminal program is available to merchants that meet certain qualifications and would like to take in-person payments via chip cards and contactless payments, such as Google Pay and Apple Pay. Act now to also receive a $25 dining certificate redeemable for 6 months worth of digital savings coupons at your favorite chain restaurants, or $25 certificate to visit and support a local favorite restaurant. Speak to a representative today to see how Payments Factory can help you increase your bottom line. Schedule an appointment to learn more about this program and how we can help your small business to make more and save more today.
Payments Factory is a subsidiary of Technology. You can contact one of our payment pros at your earliest opportunity. Find out how you can save money and do better with your business processes. We'd be glad to help you. So, guys, continuing in the week that was crazy. We had an issue of pulling people off the street and deporting them. Hey, you speak Spanish there. So let me see your arm. Oh, that tattoo looks a little troubling there. I'm going to have to take you in. And next thing you know, you wake up in a Venezuelan prison. And it was challenged. It went to the federal court, and the federal court struck it down, told Trump to turn the plane around, and they're like, "Oh, I don't know. I think we're having plane trouble now. It's kind of hard to turn it around. Did anybody see the plane? We'll get back to you on that." And it was obvious they were openly defying the judge's order. In the meanwhile, it was able to go to the Supreme Court. The Supreme Court basically took down the judge's order based upon the very argument that the plaintiff had made over due process, saying that, well, this was in the wrong venue and it's not supposed to be taken up here. So we're going to let Trump keep on finding people and putting them away. But you guys can certainly come back and we can discuss this when we take it through the right channel. So in a way, they ruled for Trump, but you can also make a case that they are setting it up to rule against Trump based upon the argument of due process. And I think personally, what I think they use this as a way of giving Trump his way for now while setting him up to maybe rule against him, but to soften the tantrum to follow. So what do you guys have to say about that? I mean, I think that this really asks a lot of questions as far as I'm concerned. One, the question is, what do you feel about this? Being able to take people off the street because right now you don't like their tattoos. What's the other thing that's going to cause you to want to deport people? And then the other question is, and I started thinking about this because some Black people have made this assertion that deportations can help them because they bought into they're taking your Black jobs. So anybody, I'm going to lead with Bishop. Let me lead with Bishop on this one, and we can jump into it. Bishop, here you go.
That was one of the most, excuse my French when I say this, one of the most asinine statements I have ever heard in my life. They're taking Black jobs, they're taking. What is a Black job? Okay, and see, here's the thing. Because I guess I know it's more than fair to say that in this country, you have those individuals who want Black people to go back on the plantations picking cotton.
Yes.
Okay, and I have a clear message to them right now. Hell no, we won't go. Okay,
we'll go.
That's number one. Number two is,
like we say at church, make it plain, Bishop.
HELL. No.
Number two is, we've got to understand that these are jobs that the whole concept of these immigrants taking jobs are jobs that nobody wanted to do. They're doing the jobs that white America doesn't want to do, and to be honest with you, that Black America doesn't want to do.
Well, Black America said they have been in the field for 400 years, so somebody else need to go out there.
Well,
ain't no cop in the way.
but the whole thing is, we already, this is why there's a whole anti-woke regime. We already know what the game is, and the unfortunate part is that you have those of us who still have that house Negro mentality.
Oh, come on now.
That are saying, whatever massa says, whatever boss says is correct. See, here's the problem that I have with that is when you as a people fail to understand that we are all in the same boat. I don't care if you're a congressman, a senator, or the king of Siam. In this country, when you go down to Alabama, Mississippi, or other places, they're going to tell you what you are to them.
Exactly.
They don't care about your credentials. That's number one. Number two is we're so stupid. And I have to make this blanket statement because our churches are separating separating our communities.
Yeah.
Okay. Our politicians are separating our communities. And the fact is that they have done their job well, because a house that is divided against itself cannot stand. Now, as for these mass deportations, eventually what they're going to do, or what they're going to attempt to do, is that the United States bought land in Africa to dump former slaves. It's called Liberia.
Right.
Okay. And what I see down the line, and there's nothing wrong with Liberia, don't get me wrong. But I see them trying to get us out so that they can have their utopian society, okay, and plot and scheme as they've done for the past 500-600 years on how to really oppress the world. Now, what we need to do is we need to wake up and smell the coffee. Those deportations, oh yeah, it's Juan, it's Jose, it's this, that. But in reality, they're going to come after you. That is their whole purpose, is to devalue and destabilize this little portion that we think that we have. Okay, if you read Project 2025, it makes things very clear on their intent. Make America Great Again has nothing to do with America being great. I want to know when it was great.
Absolutely.
And who was it great for? So what the whole premise of Make America Great Again and Project 2025 is to establish, instill, and fortify whiteness and white privilege. And until we wake up and acknowledge that, we're in trouble. Now, as for our politicians that are kowtowing and acquiescing to this madman, I say that they are a cancer that needs to be removed.
Absolutely.
The scripture says, if your right hand offend thee, cut it off and cast it into the fire.
That's right.
You see, and so we've taken their kumbaya, peace and love, God is love, and Jesus. We've taken that too far. The Israelites went to war several times. And I'm going to tell you that we need to have our peace. And in order to gain your peace, scripture says the kingdom suffers violence.
Yes.
And the violent take it by force. That which is taken by force can only be recaptured by force. Yeah, and we could talk about, when the Lord returns. Yes. Yes. Okay. Yeah, he's gonna avenge us. But in the meantime, we're dumb, stupid, or both if we're going to keep allowing people to kill us, to ridicule us, to put us down, when the history of the world is embedded in our DNA. So I don't have a lot to say about these deportations other than this. We need to wake up and smell the coffee and see where this is going. Because right now it's Venezuelans. Okay, they're already hot on Mexicans. Okay, and they're gonna work their way. They have a pecking system. And once they get to this little over 13% of the population, guess what's going to happen? Now, the strange thing is that the Hispanic community overwhelmingly voted for Trump.
Yes, yes.
So they had a mess around and find out moment. Okay.
And they'll find it out.
These people that are here, as political refugees, as some are on a student visa, some are on a work visa, some of them are on, they're pursuing citizenship. The reality is, America, if it's going to be the great melting pot, it has to melt. You can't keep the white separate from everything else. It has to melt. That's how you get the color.
So my question is right now, whose responsibility is that at this point? Because in terms of the melting aspect of it, is it going to be and I was a D&I director for 15 years, 16 years. So I've been in this work for 20, 25 years. And oftentimes when you're having these conversations, you're having conversations with people that look like me. We're not the problem.
You're preaching to the choir.
The problem
we're not.
that, the problem is that outside of our space, we're not we're not seen.
Anika, what I feel about that question, if you don't mind me jumping in there, I think that we have earned our sit back and see what happens moment.
Yeah.
And we may not be here forever. We may not be here forever, but I'm feeling that we've come to a place that we've earned our little vacation.
Right.
And I think that when Bishop said that it has to melt, well, the material that's in there has to be able to melt. Black people have had to melt, Hispanics have had to melt, and all the ingredients are melting except for one.
Yeah.
And when the majority is compliant to the requirement, you have to consider, and I believe that I believe God is definitely able to turn the tables. Those who are non-compliant could find themselves on the outside, and I think that's what they're afraid of. I think that they are afraid that they are the non-compliant ones, not everyone else. And they're trying to do everything systemically to kick all the other ingredients out the pot because they don't want to melt. But in doing so, something's going to happen to flip the script. Only because we're watching the self-destruction. When you look at these hostile town halls. Those are not black people.
Oh,
You know, it's white people at these.
Staying home.
Right, black people are staying home. It's
as we
white
should.
people getting beside themselves over the turmoil of the system. And when you look at it, they're not talking about immigration. They're not concerned about immigration now, because now they are the primary victims of the tariffs. They're the primary victims of the breaking down of government. They're finding out that who they targeted were not the first victims. They are the first
They
victims
shot
because
themselves in their own foot.
right, because so while you're busy deporting people, because I feel that the deportations are a public relations stunt, to
It
some
is.
degree.
It is. And
I
I don't think he's deported as many people as Biden has in the
right.
past. So, or even Obama. So, it's all a publicity stunt, and you could see it coming up on social media. You could see it, but just when you
He knows
talk
how to
quickly
get headlines.
about Venezuelan,
He's
yeah, a
really
very
good.
small population of people in
Right.
this Venezuelan.
He's a one thing I won't take away from him is his marketing genius.
He has
He
a bullet pulpit.
yes,
Yeah.
he knows how to get your attention. That's one thing we will never take away from him. We know that he is good at getting attention. I told my wife, I said, he's the kind of person, that when he goes, it's going to be interesting. I mean, this won't be some random announcement that he has now transitioned and that he went quietly in his sleep. It's going to be something crazy.
Yeah, listen,
And some story behind it, because
right.
he has to leave us with a bang. And I think that this whole deportation
Right.
is what we call red meat for the base to try and get them riled up, because those racists, he needs to keep the racists on his side. So as long as he's throwing out racism, and as long as he yells blacks and Mexicans, they're going to side with him, and he can stick a fork in them as much as he wants to.
He's losing some of them also, because I've been, like I said, watching quite a bit, because the other part of that equation is the fact that not only are they rising up, realizing, because they're the ones, and it's those racists in Kentucky and Alabama and all those other places down in the Delta, they can't get their food stamps, they can't get their EBT card, whatever that is called, whatever it is. But this is the one that got me. I just saw this. This was yesterday too. Down in Texas, New Orleans, and a couple of places in Salt Lake City, Utah, they're actually ICE. What's happening is some of these crazy racist, ICE agents, and some of those people who are still upset with him for what they're doing to them, they're still perpetuating that pain on others. Because the new thing, I don't know if you all saw this, and I saw this on TV as well. They're stopping people not only about the tattoos, but if you cannot read, something and say it in English and stuff like that, they're taking them and deporting them. They're just randomly picking, groups of little Hispanics, Guatemalans and San Salvador, any of those people who look like Hispanics, Latinos, and all of that. And if they can't read it, because they're stopping the guy and said, well, you have to, I saw the video, and they told the guy, you have to read this. And he says, I can read it. He says, no, you have to read it out loud and all that kind of stuff. So it's crazy, but at the end of the day, what he better be worried about, and that's the other good thing, and I just saw this one this morning, his obituary will be the most anticipated, More people are looking forward to reading his obituary than anybody in all of
But
history.
just know his ending is going to be very dramatic.
I just saw that this morning.
It's going to be Hollywood. It's going to be Hollywood. I don't think that this is going to be a quiet production.
I don't think he's going to get taken out in this country either. I think it's going to be some Russian come in and get the poison to him in his McDonald's burger.
Oh gosh, that would be the easiest. That would be the easiest one to happen because
I don't think it'll be here.
Yeah, and the whole thing behind this is that when he started, as we talk about him coming down the golden escalator, the target on the Hispanic community was because they tend to vote Democrat. Well, he's kind of being counterproductive because they have become Trump supporters. So he's basically deporting his own base to some degree. Yes, he's made such a dent in that community, but now these actions are now starting to turn the tide with them again. They're now yelling about how betrayed they are. Yeah. And so many people are talking betrayal. The question is, and this wasn't planned, but the question is that can we get to such a point of critical mass that so many people will feel betrayed by him? That is there such thing that he can have too many enemies politically?
I think we're there now. I mean, I saw the video of the young lady on November 4th, I think it was, a little Hispanic lady. Mr. Trump, we for Mr. Trump. And they went back and interviewed her, last month sometime. And she is, boohooing all over the place, talking what you just said, how they feel betrayed. They had one of the elders within that Hispanic community who had convinced all of his relatives and close people in the community that we got to go with Trump. Now, this guy is on the verge of committing suicide now because when they interviewed him, he says he never realized what he was doing. His family has been so impacted, they've sent more than half of his family back, and he's in hiding now because they're going to send him back as well. I believe we're at that point right now. They are now his biggest enemies, and what Monica was just saying and things like that. They may not get to him on this, soil, but when he's away, like I said, you don't have enough protection in the world to stop somebody who's determined. And when you have, like I said, we are for the sake of, like I said, protecting our, podcasts and stuff like that. We don't advocate violence. We're not advocating, and suggesting that anybody should cause harm to anyone. But I go back to what I said. Yeah. When you back somebody into the corner where they don't have nothing else to lose, that will be what you said, Daryl, alluding to, going out with a big bang. Some of these people who now have been subjugated to become this new enemy, they're willing, like I said, a couple of them have said it. They'll go out here and die to protect, the little bit that they have left, because they see now they've been, not only bamboozled and all that kind of stuff and betrayed, but to save face now, they're the new enemy that's out to try to cause harm to those people who in that position that has, put that upon them.
So I got a question, everybody. Monica, you want to say something?
Yeah, I do want to say something real quick on this. Just so you know, even, with power dynamics in general, what you never want to do is put yourself in a position where you're compromised.
Exactly.
Where you owe someone or where, they have given you or lent you something or did something for your family. You never want to be put in that position. It is very evident that Trump is compromised. And much of that has come from his children's relationship with international leaders,
Mm-hmm.
possibly Russia, so on and so forth. That is really my whole reason, because once someone has been compromised, and
Yeah,
once there's no need for you anymore, you know too much.
Yep.
that's it.
And
Yep.
so we'll just have to get rid of you. This is some mafioso stuff.
Yeah,
This
yeah.
Right.
is mafia stuff
Is
going
that
on here.
not what, Madam Mayor, is that not what Trump accused Hunter Biden and Joe Biden of?
Exactly.
Well,
Exactly.
remember, every accusation is a
Amen,
confession. Remember, every accusation is a confession.
Thank you.
Now,
Okay, Daryl.
I have a question though. Will this whole mass betrayal that is taking place from this president, do you think it could lead to a subsiding of the circular racist fire squad that is taking place between African Americans or Hispanic community and others that have looked down upon, us and each other? Do you think that this could have a unifying effect, or do you think that that's a lost cause?
I think temporarily so, but not permanently.
Say that
You
again,
know,
Monica. Can you repeat
I think
that,
maybe
Monica?
temporarily.
Oh, okay, so
Archbishop Chase, I'm sorry.
you said temporarily.
I said maybe
I think that maybe temporarily. Okay. Well, I think that's a long time off.
yes.
I'll tell you
Very
why.
much.
I'll tell you why I say that, and this is serious. They have believed the oppressors' lies too often. They have built hatred, disdain, and separatism from us, who are the very ones who led the way so that they can have what they have in this country. They would rather give it to them than to us. Now, when I tell you that you're better, even with poor white people, when I tell you that you are better than the richest or the most successful black man, and you start to believe that, it is the same thing that they have, the same trickery that they have pulled with other minority groups. And they, between the media and everything else, they have been taught to view the black community as being criminal.
Yes.
When we're the first ones that would help them.
Yes.
You see, so when I say it's a long time off, race relations have to do with owning up to truth.
Truth.
And I don't believe that any of these entities are really ready, willing, and able to answer to the truth.
The truth.
I think they want to create more smoke screens, more delusions and illusions, and keep on blindsiding and bamboozling the people for as long as they can. But see, there's going to become a time of reckoning. Okay, and while they're in that quicksand, and they're reaching for our hand to pull them out, we have to make the determination: is, do we really want to do
that? Absolutely.
Right.
You see, the humanity side says, yes, I don't want them to lose their life. But the reality is that now that they are in quicksand, they are saying, and this is on a national level, they are saying we should have stayed with our black brothers and sisters.
Yes.
Well, it's too late now.
It's too late.
See, because you done opened the door to foolishness. So now you have a mess around and find out moment just like everybody else.
Right.
And while you're reaching, I might get you at the last moment. But I'm going to let your head go under a little bit so you can really feel what it is that you've done. That they've done to us time and time and time again. You know, there's still lynchings in the United States.
United States, that's right.
Let's be realistic. You know, I mean, they're hanging black folks still. You know, there's a surge here in Kentucky where you know, the Klan is increasing in membership.
Yep.
And so, you know, you have these people who have a plan, and their plan is to pit people against each other. When I was growing up, my brother is much lighter skinned than I am.
Okay.
But I have the hair.
Right.
Okay. And they used to ask us questions. And the reality is we're not one of them. We have been, always will be, and shall remain dedicated to who we are as black men and to our purpose here in the United States. See, that's the thing. We want to keep trying to change camps, but we need to solidify our own camp, because we're not going to let these other camps come in when we're not fortified.
Right.
So yeah, they messed up. Why are we going to let them in? They will tell your position.
Exactly. Yes.
They will compromise you, even though we help them. And so where do we go? Where do we go? We have to. And I'm you know, I got this red, black, and green behind me for a reason. Right. We have to wake up and smell the coffee and understand that until we get our act together, we don't have nothing to say to no other group.
That's right.
Yeah, that's the
I
point.
say it out loud on Black Mount.
That red, black, and the red, black, and green really does signify something, because that red is the blood of my ancestors, the blood of your ancestors. The black is the skin and the condition that we're in. And the green, I forgot what it stands for, but I will say this land. But and you can correct me on that. But the important thing is that we do have to get together, and we do have to solidify in some form or fashion to understand that we're at least in the same type of condition. Whether it may look a little different, it may appear different because of our economics or whatever, the fact is that we're in the same condition. And because we are considered an underclass in this country, the American descendant of slaves, and it really impacts anyone of African descent, but more recent immigrants have a different experience, and they view this country much differently. But if you're an American descendant of slave, you understand the condition that we are in, and it's one that we're going to have to pull ourselves out of. We're going to have to pull it out by building trust, reevaluating what's important to us to have value in this country, and supporting each other in a way where we can uplift each other. That's what's going to be important for us to do, especially in this economy. We need to be you talk about coalescing. We need to be getting together and combining resources and just thinking outside the box.
Right.
And I agree with you.
And
before we even get there, I think I still believe that the African American community, the Black community, has to fortify itself. We're not going to be able to be a help to anybody else. We can't even talk about helping anybody else until we help ourselves.
Exactly.
That's right. I agree.
If we don't take care of ourselves, And I'm,
But Bishop, but
yes,
there is so much regret right now. One of my trainers, she's been with me for about 15 years now. Her family has already had. She's Latino, and her family has already had 6 relatives deported. And she was saying, like I said, I just talked to her yesterday. I live less than about 8 miles, I think, from UMBC on this side of where I live, and here in Albert County. And they were on their campus just this week, Monday and Tuesday this week. They are stopping students who look like they, could be, Latino, Hispanic, or whatever, and they are, picking them up left and right. They are afraid to go to school now because even with their documentation as a student with a green card, they, ICE is just rounding people up, don't care their status. And like you said, they're shipping them away just like they did the other gentleman from Maryland. They knew they weren't supposed to deport them. But I think it was Monica, you just said, or Bishop and stuff like that. No, this is an intentional thing that they're just trying to follow Trump's lead. And their thing is, like I said, once we send them there, they're on their own. We don't have to try to get them back. No, that was you, Daryl. Yeah, when you said that, they don't care. Once they get them on the plane, but the sad part about it, like I said, with the young lady who's my singer, I don't want to say her name on the broadcast, but the real sad part about it, they sent them, like I said, to Venezuela, and they have never been to Venezuela. So they don't know what's going on with their relatives. They don't know if they'll ever be able to get them back, because just like, way back in the first term, you still have those over 2,000 kids who've never been brought back together with their families. They don't even know where they are. So they don't care about the damage. They're doing this just to create fear and create all of this, frustration within our nation. But they're forgetting that, like I said, every action has a reaction, and there will be consequences. And like I said, and the irony is still the fact that here they are doing all of this, and every one of them are married to, like I said, immigrants and people who are not, even supposed to be here. I mean, look at the way he did his wife's family, brought all of them here, jumped the line over everybody and things like that. And like I said, it's just crazy, but there will be consequences. There's going to be consequences.
But and I agree with you wholeheartedly. I think one of the things that we have to remember is that we went through forced deportation, but it was really an exportation. And once we realized that, once we realize that, and we take account of that, and we learn how to protect ourselves to ensure that this does not happen. See, what we need is community leaders that talk to each other rather than compete with each other. That's why I'm hard on the church, because there's more competition than there is communication. It has to be cross-denominational. I don't care if you're in that Willie Lynch mentality and you think you're in the house or in the barn or in the field. It doesn't. What we need is communication amongst ourselves.
Yeah.
I agree.
So that we can fortify.
I agree. I get caught up sometimes, and I will tell you that you don't have to be in Kentucky to experience racism. I've experienced a whole heck of a lot here in Pennsylvania.
Well,
Oh,
see,
most
Monica
definitely.
and Monica and I are both in Pennsylvania, and we live
Yes.
in
So
we live in what's called the Alabama in between Philadelphia
yeah, this is
and
like
Pittsburgh.
it's
Oh,
like some
wow.
area I never knew even existed, coming from Tulsa, living in Austin, living in
Right.
Washington, D.C., and Baltimore, and then here. It was like something out of, um, out of an Alfred Hitchcock
Right.
movie,
Like that.
so to speak.
Yeah,
I
and
was
I'm from the city. I'm a city boy, so
Yeah, so this is like,
yeah.
and
So
all I
coming,
wanted was a house with a yard. That's all.
yeah, and it
Uh,
came with a whole lot more, Monica.
it came with a whole lot
Like they
more.
say, but wait, there's more.
The book is coming out on that. Let me tell you, that one is
well,
definitely coming
well,
out.
well, I can say from that question about does this mean that we will uh, stop the circular firing squad of bias and racism and hatred amongst amongst marginalized people. I'll put it that way. I would say that we're only proving two things with this conversation right now. One, we're proving that there are that the United States only have laws on paper. They are always subject to being changed, modified, and in this case, ignored. And secondly, there are no permanent friends and no permanent enemies, only permanent interest. And I think that we're finding out the truth of that as well. Guys, I'm going to take a quick break. We're going to cover our last topic on the other side.
Okay.
In a world where convenience meets diversity, there's one marketplace that stands out from the rest. Welcome to Firecart, your ultimate destination for all things shopping. At Firecart, we believe in bringing you not just the everyday essentials, but also a curated selection of cultural and handmade products that celebrate diversity and craftsmanship from around the globe. Whether you're looking for the latest gadgets, trendy fashion pieces, or one-of-a-kind artisanal creations, Firecart has you covered. Our diverse range of products caters to every taste and preference. But that's not all. Introducing our exciting affiliate program, Firestarters, where you have the opportunity to earn money by being a Firecart seller or by referring customers through your affiliate link with generous commissions. Imagine making passive income simply by sharing products you love with your friends and followers. With Firecart, it's not just about shopping, it's about building your own success story. And here's the kicker. During our exclusive launch period, you can take advantage of discounted pricing and special perks available only to our founding members. So why wait? Join the Firecart revolution today and experience shopping like never before. Firecart, where every purchase ignites a world of opportunity. For more information, visit firecart.shop. Your journey to endless possibilities starts now.
Firecard also is a subsidiary of Dynam Technologies. We are excited about our continued launch and growth with Firecard. We have some great things going on with it, and we do invite you, if you're a vendor, to become a vendor. And also, we want shoppers to check out the unique people, the unique products that are becoming more and more available, so we can be able to continue to grow and support the community. Guys, I should have never looked at my phone while we were. I should have never looked at it. This is a little sidetrack. We don't have to have a full discussion about it, but I just read that the U.S. government is now banning government employees from having romantic or sexual ties with Chinese citizens. So they are concerned. They're concerned about your love life with a potential spy or asset. I guess that's going to be the reason. However, we have the head of our government who we have never got, who has one married, not one, but two potential assets, and also has questionable ties with adversarial governments. So I just wanted to give you that, put a pin in that, because we have yet again another case where every accusation is an admission. So I wanted to give that to you guys. We can talk about that later because I think that's a good conversation worthy of having in future.
We definitely
discussions.
Yeah, that kind of goes along the lines of freedoms and censorship. And those are basic human rights. Those are basic American freedoms,
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
that have a democratic society and hopefully we'll be able to have a discussion about what's happening with the Smithsonian. And
yes, we have to put that on board. Yes,
and
absolutely.
National Park Service as well, wanting to take Harriet Tubman off the national public site.
Well, I guess this is going to put the $20 bill in limbo a little longer.
I guess that's gone out the door. He wants to put his money, himself on the money.
Yes, yes. We'll get to it. Yeah. Well, I have another. I'm going to take a hard left turn here. We got a discussion concerning culture on the board. I think it's risen to enough newsworthiness to discuss. Our dear brother and known potential homewrecker, Usher. Usher is known for his serenades, and it has already been in the news with Keke Keke Palmer, and who is now no longer with her partner and father of her child, and now the latest victim was at a recent concert where he came up to her intensely as he was in a full lather, and he approached her and she was overtaken by his spell, and she kissed him publicly. The problem was that she was a married woman. Reportedly, I'll put it that way. I'll get to the bottom of it. I'm on it, internet. She was reportedly a married woman, and she and her husband said that she wouldn't even kiss me in public, let alone kiss me like that in public.
All in.
I want a divorce. It's over.
Wow, he's already filed. He's
filed for divorce.
He's legally filed already.
Now, mind you, Usher himself is a married man, just got married recently. But I guess he has permission to do whatever he's got to do to bring the bacon home. And so it led me to the question about us being not who we should be, or not being the person we really are, depending on where we are. The issue the husband brought up is that she does not behave that way with me, but she does this because of a concert she paid her money for. So she wanted to get the full experience.
Yeah, she got the full experience, all right.
And it's landed them in divorce court. So all of us have known, or some of us have been, different people in different venues. I wanted to get you guys feeling about that, as it does relate to our culture. It relates to culture in general. It relates to ethics or integrity or character. What do you guys have to say about this?
Maniko, take us in first, please.
Okay, I'm gonna go ahead and take it in a little bit. Yeah, being the woman here. Yeah, so
you're not just a woman, you're a lady.
Yeah, just a woman here. And as I said earlier, Usher would not, that would not be appealing to me. Mm-hmm. But as a married woman, and I have been married. I was married once for 12 years. Mm-hmm. I have been in situations where it has been tempting, tantalizing, not necessarily for the star, with a person. But then, it's like, am I going to risk my marriage
Yes.
and disrespect my husband, disrespect myself for that? That was a very poor choice. And going for it like she did, I can't imagine anything that he was doing at that point
Yes.
that would allow her to cross that line. And at this point, and I don't want to be judgmental,
Yeah.
I would probably maybe be on the side of the husband at this point. It's like, what else would she do? Or what else has she done?
Mm.
Thank
Because it's always more than one thing. But
Right.
again, we've been in those, every woman, every man, well, definitely every woman has been in that situation. And I could proudly say, I didn't go, I never went there, and she shouldn't have gone there.
She was
So
willing
that
to
was,
risk it all.
well, she risked it all for that moment. And as we know, those moments can do a lot of damage to marriage. And I just believe that marriage is such an institution that has to be respected. And when you wear that ring of that man, that is, that is who you're obligated to. Now, whatever he does, and he has to pay the piper, and then you can just leave him. But at least you, at this point right here, had a choice to not do that. So, yeah.
Right.
And you also have to factor in, because like I said, when I saw the story, I always want to get the story behind the story. They had children involved. And so how dare you? I mean, I have been, like I said, like Daryl, we've been in this music business for a long time.
Yeah.
And so the secular has merged with the Christian, so to speak, and a lot of blurred. But I remember years ago, I was fortunate enough to be a roadie for, one of what I consider top bands in the world. And that was the best 2 years after college of my life, being able to just, like I said, be a keyboard roadie.
Yeah.
But yes, I have been backstage. One of our jobs after the show was collecting some of the items that were thrown on stage. And you would be surprised what women will do.
Oh yeah.
And just for the attention of a celebrity that don't know them, don't know their name, won't care one way or the other what happens to them after the fact. But when I saw this, it like opened up a old wound, because like I said, I know some people who personally been impacted by the same thing. And I just know people enough to know, I wish a woman would go somewhere with me and treat some man that they don't know. I remember like Teddy Pendergrass, he did those concerts.
Yep.
And like I said, they threw everything on stage.
Turn them off.
That's you can imagine, with their phone written with the marker on it. So, and they, like I said, they prayed for an encounter. But my thing, alluding to what Monica said, I just can't wrap, being a country boy and being someone from down south, I cannot imagine. And I'm sitting here thinking about my own way. And because she recently wanted to go see Smokey Robinson. First of all, I ain't going to no show with no woman if she, if I even think they're gonna have a moment.
Can we talk about Unc? Can we talk about Unc? Uncle Smokey is, I think he got the code. I think he got the code out the old folks' home, and he's sliding out, getting loose, because Unc is.
One of my dearest friends loves Smokey, and she has been that same way with Smokey. And her husband just sits back and says, "Well, she got a thing with Smokey." My thing, it boils down to respect. If you took some vows with me, and I grew up like this. My mother said, "You show out in public, you gonna get it in public." So I would never. It's nothing I don't think a woman could ever do that's gonna make me put my hands on them. But you better pray to God you're not 1,000 miles away from home, because you would not be going home with me if you go on some stage and kiss somebody all out, all in. And like I said, these same women. I mean, I'm tapping into the spirit of Kevin Samuels, may he rest in peace, because this is what I don't understand. Respectively, Monica, I don't understand any black woman willing to do something so outrageously disrespectful like that. That your man is right there with you, and you could be inside somebody else's mouth. I mean, it's like the show would have been over, because when I got on the stage, ain't nothing else gonna happen, Because
well, you know what she said. You know what she said, Reggie? She said it's Usher.
Right. Usher's life would have been seriously impaired. Both of their lives would have been seriously impaired, because it's like, how dare you? That the children gonna see that video. That's out there now. That'll never go away. So I just don't understand it. She took vows with this man, and I'm gonna say this, and I'm done with it. There's no way on this green earth you can convince me that she really loves that man. No one really loves her man will ever allow herself to disrespect him so publicly on such a platform like that. That's one of the little skeezers he was supposed to bypass and never take her home to meet mama. That was just
that's the one mama probably wasn't feeling to begin with. Bishop, I see.
You don't take
I see.
That's why, that brother. I wish I could reach out to him and send him a love offering. Because can you imagine the whole world? And they can't undo that. They can't. He had no choice.
Reggie, he was in a full sweat, and he looked in her eyes intensely.
Yeah.
And he was wearing a mink.
That arena. If his mother was alive, she was blowing him up on the phone and said, "Leave that house right there." He better not come to the cookout on Memorial Day.
Comes from the drinking.
Brother Reggie said she didn't love him at all. Not only that she didn't love him, she never respected him.
Never.
There you go.
So in reality, deep in her mind, she was always looking for an out. Commitment.
Bishop getting down to the soul now. Bishop is drilling down on this one.
You see, because if you can do such a heinous thing in front of everyone,
the world,
it really exposes her character, which tells you that no matter what comes, if it has more, if it looks better, my loyalties aren't with you. I'm going for a better package.
But Archbishop Pete, she paid $800 for that seat.
Oh, she's got that VIP seat. Yeah.
Not including the transportation, not including all the other incidents that went into that.
That Uber was expensive.
$800.
That leads to another question, though. It leads to another question: what we value in this society. Why would we spend $800? I mean, I've bought lots, land for that much.
Exactly.
So this is in the country. But why are we valuing an artist to the point that we have to pay $800?
It doesn't know. Come on, Monica, that's nothing.
Even though I paid $400 for Beyonce in the nosebleeds, but that's a whole other thing.
$1. Here's the thing. I want us to understand.
Beyonce.
I want us to understand. Y'all got a lot of nerve. I'm going to be my preaching self now.
We about to, all right, y'all. We gotta sit up straight now. We're about to get rebuked. Come on.
Y'all got a lot of nerve being all this money
here
for hell, because that's what it is. A one-way ticket to hell. Okay. And you do not. And I'm not talking about tithe and offer. I'm talking about putting in your support for those things. Now, I'm not saying you, but putting in your support for those things that are going on in the community. We've got to learn what our priorities are. You know, God, family, community. Okay, and until we understand, they have blindsided us with this entertainment stuff.
Yes.
So well.
It's their God. That's their God.
Because we are throwing away capital that can be used to build infrastructure.
Well, and Taylor Swift grossed $1 billion on the Eras tour. Beyonce grossed, I think, around what, 600 million or 800 million?
About 600 million.
It went over 600 million. It was well over 600 million.
You got my 400.
see, I back in the day would have definitely thanked you, because I would have been back there getting part of that check, because that's what I did. You know, and Reggie understands what I say. I got paid double and triple scale. I was at the top tier of being paid in what I did. And now I can give some insight about the whole thing in terms of, you know, I used to, and I wasn't the famous person. I just played with the famous person.
Exactly.
And I had stalkers. I had women in my hotel room, in my bed when I got to the hotel. I've had to go into hotels with an alias and then have a redirect room. You know, I would be booked in another name or be booked in a different room than I'm listed. So the whole thing about the entertainment world, and I think the term of music, the word music means to muse. The word muse means to hypnotize. And the thing is that we have now undergone a collective hypnosis when it comes down to entertainment. And now Bishop said that she never respected him, and Reggie said she never loved him. My question is, are you that far in deep that you lose all rational thinking about, like you said, there are children involved, right? So have we gotten to this place, because we're talking about her, but is she a microcosm of something larger?
Definitely a microcosm.
I think that, you know, when they started taking male figure out of the household, and showing in the Black community what a stable Black family looks like, I think she may be a product of that. But there's another thing that, you know, and I blame the church as well. You know, certain types of preachers, is because preachers got focused on money, and they were telling their female followers to be focused on the same thing.
Yes.
Okay. I sat in a church one time, and the preacher said, if he doesn't have a 2-carat diamond ring, 2-car garage, and a 4-bedroom house, don't mess with him. My question is,
diamond in the back, sunroof top.
What is she bringing to the table? Okay. And so but here's the thing, you know, if you're going to be a Proverbs 31 woman,
all right,
understand what you. I praise my wife. My wife is a Proverbs 31. I honor her.
Absolutely.
Yeah, we bump heads sometimes. We've been together for a while, but you want to know something? She knows I'm not going anywhere, and I know she's not going anywhere.
Absolutely.
Yep.
Okay. And if you disrespect either one of us in front of the other one, that's going to be it for you. So here's the reality. When you see, you know, when you see that kind of thing in society, one has to ask the question, where was her programming derailed?
Right. Exactly.
Because a Proverbs 31 woman, a virtuous woman, is not going to throw away her husband and family for a quick thrill.
Exactly. Mm-hmm.
And that's all I'm going to say. I'm done with that.
But you know what, Bishop, let me throw this in there with that.
Yeah.
But you open up another door to go through, because the same way she treated Usher, I personally know of some marriages that have broken down and led to divorce because that woman had that same type of adoration for the pastor. They supposed to be getting counseling and all that kind of stuff. Next
ain't
thing
that
you
much
know,
counseling in the world.
right. Next thing you know,
trust me, I'm gonna use the word ain't that much counseling in the world.
You want to separate them in the counseling?
4-hour sessions, 2-hour session. Come on now.
Exactly. But see, fault lies with some of these jackleg preachers as well, because like I said, and I'm talking about, I know more than 8 couples, marriages were dissolved because of the woman's affection for the pastor. Because you go to any church in this country, 80% of the parishioners are women.
Well, that actually, Brother Reggie, that opens up another discussion we should have and get to the root cause of it. But the reality is, a man is not.
Men know game when they see it. They know game.
Yes.
Right.
Okay.
But they
over the past. Yeah, let me just say this about the relationships with pastors, just real quick, because I've seen a lot of women get a crush. I've seen them in the Catholic Church and get a crush on the priest and everything. Right. They love men who lead, and just as in any position that you're in, whether you're male or female, and you're leading a flock of some sort, whether it's in the workplace, whether it's in the church, it is responsibility of the leader to make sure that you're not, fraternizing, with members of your flock. You're going to have to be the one that shut it down. And trust me, I mean, I have been in situations, I have worked with lots of men where I was leading them. And, but you have to maintain that, that line.
Right.
So that you're not doing it. And it's really incumbent upon the leader to
absolutely
to cut that down.
And see, I think the one big thing, and I think we can pick up on some family talk behind this. But I think the one thing is that the family unit, to that point of the family has a need of a lot of repair in the cracks in the building. It's a lot of building cracks in the institution right now. And you got to fix the people, you got to fix how it operates. You got a lot of things to fix that are going to take some time. And I think though she's front and center, she certainly is telling us a lot about society in general, that an artist can actually feel entitled and emboldened to even do such a thing, not considering any of the ramifications, and that we're at a place that Usher doesn't even have to think about, maybe she has a man, maybe she has kids that are watching this. He doesn't, he on his side, he set up the environment for it to happen.
He doesn't even care. He
Right.
doesn't even care.
No,
So
he doesn't care.
yeah.
He's that type of response. He's looking for that response. That's his ego and his arrogance. But it still falls on that woman because, like I said, everything. There's nothing in no court that she can say if that husband go forth and go through divorce proceedings. There's nothing. He doesn't have to say one word. All he has to do is say, "Yana, look at this." That's his case right there.
She could use the excuse that the serpent beguiled her.
Yeah.
How did that turn out?
Right.
How did that turn out?
Right. How did that turn out?
Right. Oh my goodness. Well, guys, I'm gonna get us off right here. This is a good discussion.
It'll be part 2, y'all. We got to come back to this.
Yeah, we're gonna come back to this because there's a lot going on. A lot of things are going on within us, and we have to talk about it. Well, all I can say, ladies, stay away from the Usher serenades, and husbands, stay away from Janet's chair. That's all I gotta tell you. And you'll be okay if you just do those 2 things. Your marriage might have a chance.
Respect your marriage. My goodness. My gosh.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, guys, thank you so much. I really appreciate it. All love here, and all love to you who watched us and who shared in the conversation. Please make sure you like, share, and subscribe to our channel, and check out Believe Broadcasting, which we have plenty of great podcasts adding and populating to the network. So we want you to continue to support some of our great podcasters that are out there, and support the work that we're doing across the land, across the world. Well, this is Daryl Elliott. I'd like to thank Monica, Reggie, and Archbishop Chase for today's session. It was lovely. I loved it. And we look forward to you guys joining in with us the next time. We'll see you soon. God bless.
Thank you. Bye, everybody.
All right.